Your hand reaches for your phone before your eyes fully open. You finish a task and feel absolutely nothing. You scroll for an hour and feel emptier than before. And every person around you offers the same tired explanation. They call it stress. They call it burnout. They tell you to take a weekend off, breathe deeper, maybe download another meditation app. You have tried all of it. Nothing shifts. Because what is happening inside your skull right now is not a mental health problem. It is not a personality flaw. And it is absolutely not laziness. It is a biological hijack, a precise, measurable rewiring of your brain's most powerful motivation system, happening in real time, engineered by the exact environment you live inside every single day. The common myth is that dopamine is your happiness chemical, that if you feel good, your dopamine is doing its job. That belief is dangerously incomplete. And that single misunderstanding is why millions of people are treating entirely the wrong problem. Because dopamine was never about happiness. It is about wanting. And when the wanting system gets hijacked, the wanting never stops. The satisfaction never arrives, and your brain slowly loses its ability to feel motivated by anything real. We are about to show you exactly how that happens, step by step, inside your own biology, and then precisely what to do about it. If you want the hidden science of the human body, not generic health advice, hit subscribe. Now, let's dive in.
Let's start at the foundation, because if you misunderstand what dopamine actually does, nothing else in this video will fully click. Picture your brain as a massive power grid. Billions of individual circuits, each one needing electricity to fire up and do its job. Dopamine is the current running through that grid. It does not generate happiness directly. What it does is charge the anticipation of reward, the pull toward a goal, the energy to begin. When your brain detects something potentially rewarding, a meal, a conversation, a challenge, a notification, dopamine surges through a pathway known as the reward circuit. It fires from a deep region called the ventral tegmental area and floods a central reward hub known as the nucleus accumbens. That surge does not feel like pleasure. It feels like urgency, like pull, like you need to check that notification. You need to open that app. You need one more scroll. This is the distinction most health content gets completely wrong. Dopamine is not the feeling of having. It is the feeling of wanting. And that single biological distinction is the entire mechanism behind why modern life has become a perfect trap. Every brain has what researchers call a dopamine baseline, a natural resting level of activity that sets your default motivation, focus, and drive. Think of it like a factory running at its designed production speed. At baseline, the factory hums efficiently. You can focus on a book. You feel motivated to exercise. A simple meal tastes satisfying. A real conversation feels engaging.
This baseline is not fixed. It responds to your environment. It adjusts based on what you repeatedly expose it to. Every time you experience a dopamine spike, a reward, a stimulation, a hit, your brain does something automatic to protect itself. It pulls dopamine receptors offline, a process called downregulation, to try and keep you balanced. Think of it like a circuit breaker. If too much electricity surges through a wire repeatedly, the breaker trips to prevent damage. Your brain does the exact same thing with dopamine. When this circuit breaker trips repeatedly, this is a primary driver of that flat, motivationless feeling you wake up with. The sense of gray background noise where enthusiasm used to live. The feeling that nothing excites you anymore. Your baseline has dropped. And ordinary life, the kind of life that used to feel sufficient no longer generates enough signal to clear the lowered threshold of satisfaction. Here is what makes this era genuinely unprecedented in human neuroscience. For the vast majority of human history, dopamine spikes were rare, hard-earned, and spaced out. You hunted, you found food, you felt the surge. You connected with another human, you felt the surge. The recovery time between spikes allowed the baseline to fully reset. Modern technology has engineered something the human dopamine system has never encountered before: an endless, frictionless, unpredictable stream of micro-rewards delivered at machine speed. And unpredictability is the key word. Research consistently shows that the dopamine surge is largest not from guaranteed rewards, but from variable ones. The reward you might get, the notification that could be something exciting, the scroll that might surface something interesting. This is the exact same mechanism that drives gambling addiction. And your phone, by design, operates on an identical reward schedule. Neuroscientists have described this state as a dopamine deficit, where the baseline has been suppressed so far below its natural set point that normal life becomes neurologically invisible, too quiet, too slow, too unstimulating to register. When this suppression deepens, this is a primary driver of the inability to concentrate during anything that requires sustained effort. The restlessness, the constant urge to reach for your phone even mid-conversation, even when you are trying to fall asleep. We covered sleep architecture in our nervous system dysregulation episode, and this connects directly. A suppressed dopamine baseline does not just destroy motivation. Emerging evidence suggests it significantly disrupts your ability to enter deep, restorative sleep because the brain's arousal circuits remain partially activated even when your body is horizontal and still. Here is where the science becomes genuinely urgent. Your brain is not a fixed structure. It constantly remodels itself based on repeated patterns. This is neuroplasticity, the incredible ability of your brain to physically reshape itself. And it is one of biology's most extraordinary gifts. It is also one of its biggest vulnerabilities. Think of your neural pathways like a highway system. The more traffic a road carries, the wider and faster it becomes. Roads that go unused slowly narrow and overgrow with weeds. When you repeatedly fire the dopamine circuit through high stimulation, low effort rewards, the highway to that circuit becomes 8 lanes wide, smooth, automatic, effortless to travel. Meanwhile, the neural roads leading to deep focus, patient effort, and delayed gratification, those roads narrow, not from damage, from disuse. Research consistently shows that chronic high stimulation behavior is associated with measurable reductions in the gray matter of your prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for impulse control, long-term planning, and decision-making. This is not metaphor. This is structural. This is visible on a brain scan. When the prefrontal cortex begins to thin, this is a primary driver of the experience where you know exactly what you should be doing, but feel completely unable to begin. That is not a willpower failure. That is a hardware issue, a genuine change in the physical architecture of your decision-making center. One more layer before the protocol, because this is where the science becomes genuinely surprising. We covered gut health in an earlier episode of this series, and the connection to dopamine is direct and significant. Approximately 90% of your body's serotonin is produced in the gut, and serotonin directly modulates dopamine activity in the brain. Picture serotonin as the pressure valve on a high-powered system. When the valve works, pressure stays stable. When gut health deteriorates, the pressure valve fails, and the dopamine system becomes erratic, spiky, unstable.
Emerging evidence suggests the gut microbiome also produces and regulates the raw materials your brain uses to manufacture dopamine itself. When the gut lining is compromised, a condition known as intestinal permeability, this is a primary driver of the brain fog, the motivational crashes, and the mood instability that seem completely unrelated to digestion, but are biologically downstream of it.
Your brain and your gut are not separate systems running in parallel. They are one continuous loop, and you cannot fully fix one without eventually addressing the other, which means your fix is not a new supplement or another diet. You need to reset the biological signal your body has been trying to send correctly all along. Here is exactly how we do it. The first and most critical step is what neuroscientists call a high stimulation reduction window. You are not fasting from life. You are removing the artificial high amplitude inputs, keeping your baseline suppressed. Practically, for a minimum of 72 hours, ideally 7 days, eliminate or dramatically reduce social media scrolling, video autoplay, gaming, pornography, and constant background stimulation like music or podcasts during every task. You will feel worse before you feel better. This is neurologically expected. Irritability, restlessness, and boredom are not signs of failure. They are signs the reset is beginning. Once you have begun recalibrating your baseline, you need to actively rehabilitate the effort pathways in your brain. The principle is deliberate friction. You are re-widening the roads that have narrowed. Choose one daily activity that requires sustained effort and produces a real-world outcome. Physical training, cooking from raw ingredients, learning an instrument, building something with your hands. The specific activity matters less than this single requirement. It must involve delayed reward. The effort must come before the satisfaction. Start with 20 minutes, non-negotiable. No phone within reach. Every completion sends a recovery signal through your reward pathways. You are not just building a habit, you are physically rebuilding the hardware. The first 60 to 90 minutes after waking is your brain's most neurologically vulnerable window. Dopamine and cortisol are naturally elevated at waking. When the first input of your day is high stimulation and low effort, a phone check or a social scroll, you spike and crash the baseline before the day has even begun. The protocol is simple and specific. No screens for the first 60 minutes after waking. Replace that window with physical movement, even a 10-minute walk outside. Natural light exposure during this window has been shown to anchor your internal clock and stabilize baseline activity through the rest of the day. Since your gut is a primary manufacturing site for dopamine, your nutritional environment directly shapes your brain chemistry. Prioritize dietary sources of the raw materials your brain needs: lean proteins, eggs, legumes, and fermented foods. Reduce ultra-processed food frequency, not because of calories, but because emerging evidence suggests ultra-processed ingredients alter your gut microbiome in ways that suppress dopamine production within days of consistent consumption. And if anyone has told you your gut symptoms, bloating, irregular digestion, fatigue after eating, are unrelated to your mood and motivation, this is the connection they missed. The loop runs both directions. Heal the gut, and you simultaneously repair the dopamine pipeline feeding your brain. Here is what we want you to take from this. You are not broken. You are not lazy. You are not simply stressed. You are a biological system running inside an environment it was never designed for. And your symptoms are intelligent signals from hardware trying to tell you something precise. The dopamine system is not your enemy.
It built every great human achievement in history. It drove exploration, creativity, connection, and survival itself. It just was never designed for an infinite scroll. But the brain that got rewired can be rewired again. That is not motivation. That is neuroscience. Now, we want to hear from you. What is the symptom from this video that you recognize most in your own life right now? Is it the endless urge to reach your phone even when you do not want to? Is it the numbness where motivation and excitement used to live? Is it the inability to focus on anything that requires real effort? Or is it that feeling of emptiness, finishing things and feeling absolutely nothing? Drop your answer in the comments. One word is enough. And read what others write, because you will quickly realize you are not alone in this. Share this with one person who has been told their symptoms are just stress or just aging. One share could be the thing that finally gives them the right answer.
The human body is not failing you. It is waiting for you to understand it.